It's the 30th of October and I'm Tom Glass and welcome to The Roast. Tonight, Clive Palmer backs direct action and Jacqui Lambie proposes a new law that would ban facial coverings in public. So, bad news, clowns, French aristocrats at parties, spies looking through cutout holes in newspapers, that weird thing from Spirited Away, half of the Phantom of the Opera's face, welders, people playing peekaboo with their kids, men in iron masks, Spider-Man, Spider-Women, this spider and the ashamed. Also, people who've just had facial surgery, brides-to-be and motorcyclists. But now with the state-approved amount of naked face, here is Mark Humphries with the headlines.
Tony Abbott, the man who decided we don't need a science minister, handed out the Prime Minister's Prize for Science last night. The only thing more ridiculous is if he handed out a gong for favourite asylum seeker. But regardless, it must have been nice for Australia's scientists to get some time out of the lab.
CSIRO scientists sorting mail, cleaning labs after budget cuts.
Prime Minister Abbott addressed the room of scientists because, I don't know, he must be a sadomasochist.
And I said to you last year, judge this government not by its titles, but by its performance, and I hope our performance has at least passed muster over the last 12 months.
Tony Abbott there, the Minister for Silence. But on the plus side, winners are grinners, and no one was happier to receive the Prime Minister's Science Prize than Professor Ingrid Scheffer.
Not having a Minister for Science, cuts in grants, I think this is a huge issue and one that our government needs to address.
Ingrid Scheffer there, confirming she's going to be a one-time winner of the Prime Minister's Science Prize. The Australian government has banned all visas from West African nations affected by Ebola, meaning Australia will be the first rich nation to shut its doors to the region. We did it, guys. We're number one. Feels shit, doesn't it? The blanket West Africa visa ban also means that any Australian health workers who go and help Ebola victims will face a quarantine period of 21 days upon re-entering Australia. It's all part of the government's new policy. We grew here, you flew here after heroically risking your life, so get in the cage. The decision means Australian health workers will be discouraged from going over there. But don't worry, as this Red Cross worker will tell you, they've been able to find superb replacements in West Africa.
I'm asking taxi drivers and students to deal with Ebola.
But on the plus side, those taxi drivers were doctors in their native countries. What's that? They weren't. Well, then that's awful. And finally, Google is exploring a way to search inside people's bodies for early signs of deadly illnesses such as cancer or heart disease. Meanwhile, rival company Bing has unveiled its own illness detection technology. For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thank you, Mark. Actually, I use Bing all the time. It's how I found this brand new watch. Just terrific. Well, next up tonight, Tony Abbott's direct action plan to reduce carbon emissions, aka Backpackers Clean Up Australia Every Day, looks like it might become a law.
The federal government's poised to pass its direct action climate change policy with the help of the Palmer United Party.
And the billionaire heading up that party knows a good investment when he sees it.
Direct action is a waste of money.
But since he's now supporting it, I can only imagine the policy has changed quite a lot. Or Clive Palmer just likes wasting money. Hard to tell. So what did he get in return for supporting direct action?
The government has backflipped on a promise to abolish the Climate Change Authority.
Oh, well, that's great. Now, if only the same could be said for their attitude towards the environment. So, now that the Climate Change Authority is sticking around, what has Clive Palmer made the government promise to do with it?
The authority will conduct a review.
A review? Oh, clear my schedule. I've got some reading to do.
The authority will conduct a review examining whether there are emissions trading arrangements in other countries and what form they take.
Oh, all done then. There are other countries with carbon prices, it's all these ones in green. And for extra credit, the countries planning to abandon carbon pricing are all those one in yellow. Still, the fact that they want this review bodes well for Australia getting an emissions trading scheme again.
Greg Hunt insisted the coalition would never, ever support an emissions trading scheme or a carbon tax.
I lied. The coalition will never, ever, ever, ever...
I'll also be announcing a cap and trade emissions trading system.
Ever again. After that time. So Greg Hunt, seen here pointing at the planet he wants to destroy, somehow got Palmer on board despite shitting on Palmer's idea for an ETS. How did he do that?
I don't know what Jedi mind trick Greg Hunt just played on Clive Palmer.
Well, judging by the mind he was working with, it must have been the easiest trick ever.
You'll pass the direct action legislation.
OK, but I want an emissions trading scheme.
I very much doubt we'll make that happen. You'll pass...
Yeah, OK.
But I hadn't even finished doing the hand thing.
Let's be honest here, Greg Hunt is no Jedi. He's clearly George Lucas in that he ruined something that worked perfectly well in the first place. We'll be right back.
Have you ever been a billionaire who promised you would save the world and then decided you wouldn't actually follow through? How do you plan on forgiving yourself? Will you cry in the shower once a week? Or do you just not care? We'd love to hear about it. At The Roast TV or hashtag RoastTV.
But direct action isn't the only reason the Palmer United Party's been in the news lately. The Senator for Tasmania, Jacqui Lambie, who believes scarves are for the neck and not the head, released her own draft law to the media this week.
For basic security reasons and the need for assimilation, identity-concealing garments should not be allowed in Australian public or Parliament House. Once again, our enemies will laugh at us.
Yeah, come on guys, don't make us look uncool in front of ISIS. And to avoid that, Lambie has proposed a law that would fine anyone wearing a burqa $3,400, while a parent who forces a child to wear the burqa faces a $68,000 fine and 12 months in jail. And I'm sure in 30 years' time, those kids will say that life really started looking up for them the day Mum went to jail. But I'm sure Lambie's got her reasons. Security?
ASIO has found there's no valid security reason for a ban.
ASIO aren't that smart. They try to wear my watch on their feet. But thankfully for Lambie, the leader of her party was strongly behind her.
I haven't seen it. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen anything about it. I haven't heard anything about it. I would have to know about it before I could comment on it. I wouldn't comment on it until I saw the legislation.
Which brings us to the latest instalment of our award-coveting political cartoon, Lambie and the Brick Halloween Special.
It's time for the adventures of pup senators and friends. In the Senate and out of their depth. It's Lambie and the Brick.
And Wang.
In Burqa Banshee.
And that's why we should lock up anyone who forces their kid to wear a burqa. All that's left is to give it the Lambie stamp of approval. And now it is a law. Time to go to my Halloween party.
Who are you, Brick?
Block.
Ah, a block. Cool. It's me, Erica Batsman.
Had to be sure. You could easily be a terrorist underneath there, Eric.
It's me, Sarah Hamster Young. I'm dressed as an Ebola doctor to protest the government's shameful...
There's no Ebola in the Quran, silly. Burqa! You! For a second there, I thought it was a Muslim lady. That was close, right, guys? Guys?
Palmosaurus, did you see that?
I haven't seen it. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen anything about it. I haven't heard anything about it. I would have to know about it before I could comment on it.
So what are you exactly?
I am pure evil.
But you're not a Muslim, right?
Nope.
Then you can stay, big boy. Happy Halloween, everyone.
The scariest thing is Lambie thinks she's doing good.
Oh, that was a really scary movie. But I'm worried that if I pull this sheet over my face, Jacqui will fine me $3,000. Good night.